They usually see the number on the Alta or like the closing disclosure of like what you make, not really considering that like you're not going to get nearly that number.
Yeah.
Uncle Sam hasn't even showed up yet and you're not getting that number. And I think there is something to be said about educating the public on that so there isn't so much friction and battle between the client and the agent. I'm under the mindset right now, though, of let people complain online because I think when push comes to shove, a consumer is going to use a real estate agent.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt, that is Shawn, and welcome to our show, Shawn. In today's episode, we have a very special guest with us. This agent is a real estate agent based in Arlington, Virginia, with 7+ years of experience. He is originally from upstate New York, moved down to the D.C. area, quickly fell in love with Arlington, D.C., everything it has to offer. Ladies and gentlemen, Drew Carpenter. Drew, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Matt. Shawn?
Yeah.
You guys look good.
You all have met before, although Shawn, I think
it's so funny. I'm embarrassed. I walked in to Matt's little abode and I was like, "Hey, Drew, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you face to face finally." And he's like, "We played golf together like 6 months ago." My fault. Once I saw his face, I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I did play golf with you." But it was just like, you hear the names and you're like, "All right, I know who he is," and like you think, "Oh, I haven't met him face to face." It's just, one of those.
You see all the names on showing time and then on the
of course,
listing
you see
side
him all the time, right? And so like Drew Carpenter, okay, I know who the guy is, but I've never really met him. So that was in my mind coming here, and then when I saw him, I was like, "Oh, yeah."
So
I was wrong.
Shawn, you've been in the industry for a little bit longer than Drew and I, but I feel like Drew and I kind of got started in the same general time frame. So Drew, when did you get started and how did you get started?
So not many know this about me, but when I actually first moved to DC in 2012, I got my real estate license. Not because I wanted to work in real estate or be a real estate agent. I simply needed a job, and I got connected through like an old colleague who was like, "Hey, I'm working for this real estate agent. It's like a mom and pop shop. They're looking for a young guy to come in and help them out and maybe get some sales." And at the time this was July 2012. I just graduated Virginia Tech. I was still living in Blacksburg, which was awesome. But, reality sets in and you're like, I need to get a job. So I took a job with this woman, worked for her for about a year and a half, did a few sales with her, but I was really like, marketing, Facebook, back end, contract to close. And she really made a killing in 08 because she was in with the bank. So like she was getting a lot of foreclosure listings. And a lot of times you have to go put those foreclosure notices on the doors. So you can imagine who got tasked with that.
That's awesome.
I'm not really an imposing figure at a door, especially out in that part of town. So yeah, it was an interesting little go at it for a little bit. I had, again, like no real interest in real estate. I just needed a job. But, I learned a lot and had a lot of autonomy, and it was a good experience. It was a good experience.
What was that like, walking up to those houses in a nice suit with perfectly manicured hair and you're just slapping a foreclosure notice on
It was
the door?
terrifying. I've actually had a gun pulled on me.
I was going to say,
yeah.
like, what are your stories? And that's one that I've been doing this a long time. I've thankfully never had to do that. I've never even heard of doing that. So
it
tell
wasn't
us more. That's
fun.
interesting.
I didn't see that on my to-do list and be like, thank God. However, it's terrifying, right? Like, because you know that you're delivering bad news, even though it's not you or someone or your fault. Like they didn't pay their mortgage, they're getting foreclosed upon. You're just out there to deliver the notice to them. So
yeah, I must have missed that episode of $1 Million Listing.
Yeah,
I didn't see that one.
Exactly.
So that's how you got started, and then you were with the Keri Shull team for a long time. What was your experience like there? And I feel like with that team, they just have a switch, and you sign into your email, and you just get 5,000 leads in the morning. I don't know how it works, but it seems like there was a time when every single one of our listings, 75% of the showings had to have been Keri Shull team.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started with Keri Shull in 2016. So after my short little first real estate stint, I tried a few other things. I did recruiting. I did some software sales. One was a startup and we got laid off in 9 months. One I hated more than anything in this world. And through my recruiting experience, that's where I really was like, okay, this sucks. But I need to get back into real estate, but this time with like a real team, someone who does business where I'm living, because the first one that I worked for lived in Gainesville. Now, I didn't know anything about Northern Virginia or DC. I just saw like Northern Virginia when I was graduate. I was like, perfect, that's where I want to be. Gainesville's not really Northern Virginia, or at least not Arlington where I was living. So, through my years of living here, I had just seen Keri's face everywhere. So I remember quitting my recruiting job and just like on a straight path to finding her and getting hired. I just kept calling her, going in, and probably within like 2 to 3 weeks, I was employed there. I worked for her for about 5.5 years. So from 2016 until like mid 2021.
Okay.
It was a good run. Yeah. It was a good run. Looking back, there was probably no better place to start. I think she does, every brokerage says, oh, we're going to train you this. You'll have mentorship here and there. And I think everyone falls flat on that. As soon as they get busy, they hire someone and it's kind of like figure it out yourself. She was very hands-on and really taught you how to fish, which I appreciated. So I really owe like kind of my foundation to her. When it came time for me to leave, it was, I'd been there for 5.5 years. I wanted to kind of mix things up a little bit, try new brokerage. I wanted to be on a smaller team so I wasn't just feeling like a spoke in the wheel, and I felt like I could really make a difference. And there, just given the size, everyone is kind of a spoke in the wheel, and I didn't want that anymore.
Yeah, Shawn and I are obviously on the outside, so we don't know what the inner workings, but every agent that has kind of started there or been there as a pit stop almost, and then have gone on to other companies, brokerages, they're crushing it. They've been trained. They're professional. Again, I have no experience with the team, but it just seems like that was an incredible. Now I found Shawn, and I'm thinking if I didn't find Shawn, I don't know where I would have ended up. But I see what they had to offer, and I mean, speaking for myself, our last brokerage offered a lot of things, but when I compare it apples to apples, tough comparison. So you were with them until 2021, then you moved to Compass. What was that move like? Why did you join Compass? And talk about the group that you joined.
So I wouldn't say I joined Compass because I wanted to join Compass. I wanted to just find a smaller team, someone who I knew had, a good track record in our marketplace, and really try to get my average price point up. I was doing a lot of volume with Keri Shull team, and that's great. And again, that's how you learn how to fish. That's how you get your reps in and you cut your teeth. But I was, I wanted to make a little bit more money on each of these deals and make a living out of this versus running around like a chicken with your head cut off for months and years at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Shawn's nodding his head. You're speaking to Shawn right now because I think Shawn's at a reckoning of growing this orange line condo baby, moving to Westover, and then being like, wait a second, I should just sell these houses.
Yeah,
am I putting words in your mouth?
No, that's the truth. I mean, for years, I pushed Orange Line Condo. We were branded as Orange Line Condo, and I marketed that for a decade. And it was good because we got a lot of market share, and we still do a lot of condo business. But when you're running and running and running for the smaller deals, which are still decent, you're selling between $400,000 and $800,000 is kind of the niche. But then, when you focus on that for so long and you run for so long, and then you're watching all your other colleagues selling $1.5, $2 million deals, and they're selling pretty quickly, and you're like, wow, I need to raise this price. And that's really the second thing that you need to do is like first get your schemes going, know how to sell this stuff, cut your teeth, as you say, and then progress into real estate and getting that dollar amount. And that's really what we've been focusing on now. We rebranded when we moved to Real, and now it's like focusing on the higher dollar value places because that's really what's going to make you the money.
So have you seen that dollar amount tick up? Like what is the
almost
typical,
doubled?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Almost doubled, you said?
Or average price point.
Average price point,
Good.
almost doubled. So what are you, like, give the viewers an idea of the location, the type of property, new construction, whatever it is you're into now.
Sure. So the team I work for now is called the Sherif Ali Group. It is Sherif and Ali. And we have a group behind them, me being one of their agents. They do a lot of new construction homes in North Arlington, McLean, Great Falls. So a lot of their business is builders and selling new construction. I'd done a few deals at my old brokerage that were new construction, but I hadn't really sold new construction. And that's a whole different animal, especially on the listing side. And that's where I kind of saw myself going. And you mentioned you guys have the Orange Line condo, and kind of as life evolves, you no longer live on the Orange Line, and the houses that you start to sell kind of reflect where you live a little bit. I feel like that kind of happened to me a little bit as well. I don't live in McLean. I aspire to live in McLean one day.
Don't we all?
But that's kind of where business is now is, I run my own ship. I'm run my own business kind of under their umbrella. And then kind of help them on the side with like if for showings or help with listings, doing their open houses in those bigger price points. So hopefully that in turn down the road after you meet these people, convert them business.
Are you walking your dog through the streets of McLean? Are you going to the McLean coffee shops and going to the gyms there?
Stop taking my ideas.
Be honest. Be honest with us. So what are these open houses that you're I mean, new construction McLean, it's got to be what, 3, 4, 5?
Been up to like 6 or 7. Usually most weekends are somewhere in like the $2 to $4 million range.
What's the open traffic like? Is it people that are seriously buying it or people that are foaming at the mouth just wanting to walk into the open house because it's open?
It's an interesting question. I think most people are foaming at the mouth because it's a beautiful home. And, I guess some people on their weekends like to go into open houses to look at houses. I guess a lot of people like to spend their time that way. I will say in that section of the market, though, I find it moving better than the lower price points just because I think once you get really above 2 million-ish, people don't need mortgages. They're paying cash. Yeah. So the interest rates that everyone is holding back on don't affect them. So I find that really like that north of $3 million market right now is moving faster than anything.
It's funny you say that. I've seen more cash this year. Since the interest rates have popped up to like the 7s, I've seen more cash deals come through, no matter all price points really, than I ever have in the past. So those interest rates are really hurting people. And if they got the cash, they're like, well, it makes more sense for me to just use my cash.
You're always wearing suits, and I can't help but notice the timepiece. Talk to me about the timepiece. What do you got on? And you obviously have a passion for watches.
Yes, I do.
So where did that come from?
Some call it a passion, some call it a bad hobby.
Well, you can say that about a lot of things in life.
Today, I had an Omega Speedmaster on today. This was really like the watch that got me into watches. It was my 30th birthday. I wanted to buy myself something nice, set myself I wouldn't call it a healthy budget, but way more than I'd ever spent on a watch before. And just through the homework of finding what I wanted, finding the deal, I just fell in love with him. So
That's cool.
Was this like your father was into watches? You had an uncle into watches? You watched a James Bond movie? How did this come about?
Well, everyone saw the James Bond movie, right?
Of course.
But no, it wasn't driven out of like any sort of particular, no one in my family loves watches. It's really just... It was through that homework, the stories, the mechanical action of them, the market, just the beauty of design of a lot of them. I just kind of fell in love with it.
So are you against the Apple Watch? Is that like the wrong thing to say?
Listen, they serve a purpose, right? For the right people in the right situations, they are the right watch. I think anytime you're like slightly elevated in dress, though, it's going to look like having like a beeper on your belt. Like in the future, when you look back at photos of yourself, you're going to be like, why the hell was I wearing that thing?
Hey, this is it's functionality for me. Yeah, I like my daughter bought me the band, so I wear the band. But hey,
Can I admit something? Can I be vulnerable right now?
Yes.
I don't know how some watches work. Okay, so I had a watch, it broke, and I was like, oh, I need to replace the battery. And then someone was like, no, you have to wind it. I was like, what? I have to wind it, and I'm winding it, and the time is just changing. And I have no idea. And so now it's just been sitting in my closet and broken for 4 years.
It's not broken.
Help me out. What, I mean, can you help a brother out?
I mean, like the crown could be pulled out and you just need to push it back in to get it to wind the watch and not change the time. Likely, if it's been in your closet for 4 years, it's probably actually broken and you need to get it serviced. But
I feel
I'll take a look for it.
I can bring it to a shop in Clarendon. They'll look at it for 10 minutes, fix it, charge me $100. But it just frustrated me. I wanted to get into watches at one point in my life. I think you actually got me the watch.
Really?
Like 5 years ago.
I like watches. I think they're cool. But now that I have the Apple Watch, I'm like, I have no need for anything else because it does so much more, right? I mean, like that's good for showing time and like looking good. For me, it's like functionality. How many steps did I do? Where is my exercise ring? All that stuff. So that's...
Well, every time I see Drew's watch, I'm like, man, I should get into watches. And then I think about this watch that I have in the closet. And I'm like, no chance. Not a chance.
You got to start with that one.
But no, I respect the hustle because I see classic cars. I'm like, I should get into classic cars. And then I go through this whole like mental gymnastics of why I can't do it.
I mean, the one thing I look at night is cars online.
But are you connecting with people through your watches at these McLean open houses? Because good people that know watches, they know watches.
I was going to say, I will say for the mechanical watches, it is one of the greatest and easiest conversation starters. Realistically, the people who are wearing them, they're like, especially men, they're not like, no women is going to be like, oh my God, your watch is is that an old Rolex date?
Right, so
like,
I'm out.
no, you know
I'm
what I mean?
out.
Like, it's usually other guys that are like, great timepiece, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you kind of start a conversation with them. So yes, I find that if I can spot something on someone's wrist and I'll bring it up to them, one, they probably don't know as much as me, and then you can kind of like enlighten them a little bit, or just like give them little tidbits about it, which they'll appreciate. Or you're about to meet someone who knows way more than you, and you can learn something from them. So I find it just to be a really easy conversation starter.
Well, and that's the main thing about real estate is conversation starters. How do you start the conversation? When you're standing in an open house, the biggest thing you have to learn is how do you communicate with people? And there's a lot of people when you come through open houses, those agents are like attack dogs with their teeth out and they're like, let's talk about the listing. Let's talk about, what are you looking for? You know what I mean? Like they go insane. And it's like, dude, pull back a little bit. This is what I hate about real estate is like the sales pressure, right? There shouldn't be a sales pressure. You should walk into a house. You should be like, hey, what's up? You know, you find a relatable thing like the timepiece, and then you start talking about that. And you talk about nothing about real estate. You know, you're talking about them, getting them talking. It's not about the house right away.
Bingo.
You can talk about the house later. You have to make a connection. And I think that's what a lot of people miss in this industry. Their mind is in one place, and that's to get the lead and to get the money. And it's like, dude, just chill out, you know?
What is the future of Drew Carpenter real estate? Like there's some agents out there that, you know, they're going to be doing home inspections till they're 85 years old. And, you know, and you've probably done deals with them. And there's other agents out there that have been in the industry for 1 year and then start a coaching program and are just out of it. Where do you see the future of your business? And while you talk, I'm going to mess with some things.
Okay, I can assure you, as someone with almost 8 years of experience and have sold over, north of $100 million of real estate, I'm not ready to be a coach. Anyone who's doing less than that, I just don't believe that they can be a coach. I feel like this is a disease that we have in this industry of people who have one good year and all of a sudden it's time to coach.
Yeah.
I never understand that. It makes me cringe when I see these people. So I won't be coaching anytime soon. If I'm really good at selling houses, you can bet I'm going to just keep selling a lot of houses. That's my plan.
I like to hear that.
Big picture, that's a good question. I never really saw myself or, really see myself as going out and starting a mega team. I have no real interest in becoming a broker. I'd really like to, if anything, maybe a small team, something like you guys have, a partnership, something really small, because I think that's where you can still provide the level of service that clients are going to want moving forward without giving up on the quality.
Yeah. Well, I think, the thing about when you start creating a team and you're trying to replicate yourself, or you find like Matt and I found each other, like we know that I know Matt's going to do a great job every time. There's no worry. He knows that, and vice versa. But it's finding that agent that can actually do what the level that you do, or the level of detail. Like you're going to treat your clients a certain way. You can tell you're very in tune with, what you do. But it's finding that next person that can actually replicate what you're doing and know that they're going to put in that level of care. So like when you're pushing somebody else off to, hey, go do this home inspection for me. What I've found is the problem is there's a disconnect when you send out somebody to a home inspection and then you get that report. That report looks like holy monster of stuff, right? And so to decipher that takes you so much longer than the fact that you would have just gone to the thing yourself. And so that's my problem is I've done it in the past, and sometimes it's more work to go through it all. And there's a certain level of anytime you start talking to buyers, and I'm going through this right now with one of my listings, buyers see things and they automatically interpret it as something horrible, or a lot of times. And so this little problem can be blown up to this huge thing. And I think one of the parts of our jobs is like, listen, no, this is actually reality. Talking to the professional while he's there or while she's there, right? Talking to that inspector and saying, all right, what is really the deal here? How much do you think this is going to cost? Those are the questions that you need to be asking at the open or at the inspection, so that you know what to talk about and you know how to negotiate that further. Otherwise, I feel like sometimes if you're not there, you don't know how to communicate it,
You hit the nail on the head there with just the reports being so extensive, even for like the cleanest home inspection, right? That's what you're paying them for. You're paying them to find problems with the house. So they also want to feel like they did something valuable and they're going to find every little thing they can. Unless you're buying brand new construction, even when you're buying brand new construction, there can still be issues. The house is never going to be perfect. And I always find it funny that I find the clients that are the hardest, like when they're buying, the hardest on the inspection are usually, if they're selling, they're like, oh, we'll sell as, we'll sell it as our house is perfect. We don't need to do anything. And then they get to their own home inspection. They're like, the cabinet's loose.
Yeah, exactly. No,
why is this light bulb a different color? What are they hiding?
That's exactly it. I mean, when it comes to their house, everything is golden, right? Oh, I'm not fixing anything. I'm not touching anything. When we go to the home inspection of theirs, they're like, holy crap, I want this, this, and this. Matt and I were talking last week. Real estate is very emotional. When you're purchasing for yourself, when you're actually going through the deal for yourself, it's an emotional process. You're finding these things and you're like, oh my God, this is my new house. And, my kids are going to live here or whatever. And you're like, you take it to heart and it's a lot more emotional than people think.
Speaking of emotions, I'm going to jump in here. There's a post that's been circulating on social media, okay, Shawn, and I can, Drew, if you look up here on the big screen. So you want to be a realtor. So there's this post going around. Shawn, have you seen this before?
I have not.
Okay, well, it's long. It is a post by real estate agents, kind of like a copy pasta type of post where real estate agents are defending their commission online. You took one look at it.
I'm sold.
You're sold. So it essentially, Drew, goes to say, did you know average commission, average realtor makes $31,000 a year? That's 40 hours a week. Here are all the things that we do on the sell side. Here are all the things we do on the buy side. I put this into Google Docs. It's 8 pages long. This is an 8-page Facebook status update. Feel free to share this with a realtor and thank you for your support. We're hardworking people. So I read this and I think, wow, what a complainer, what a whiner, what a baby. Like imagine if a teacher lists out everything that they have to do, all the lessons planned that they have to do during summer, all the things that they have to deal with kids. What if I don't want to say doctor, but what if another profession? What if an accountant lists off, oh, you can't believe this client sent me something on April 14th. I'm just thinking, man, this is a professional complaining to the general public about their job. So, Shawn, you're chomping at the bit here. What are your thoughts?
Matt, I don't think it's complaining. I think it's showing the worth of what we do. Because anybody, right now, we are under assault by everybody saying, first it's real estate companies being sued by blah, blah, blah. So everybody's after that dollar and saying, well, hey, you guys make too much money or this. And, there are a lot of people saying or watching Selling Sunset or, seeing these shows on TV that think that's so glamorous and, oh, you're making so much money. You sell $4 million, $8 million, $10 million homes. Well, the majority of people are selling $300,000 to $500,000 houses. And the amount of work that goes into that is a lot. And I don't think people understand how much that is. And honestly, my last 2 posts on Instagram have been about what we do and about why we make the money we make. And, one example today is I have work to do, but my parents came in for the weekend and my brother came in for the weekend and I can't take a day off. I cannot take a day off and say, I'm not going to do this because I have a home inspection contingency tonight. I've got another one tomorrow for a listing. There's plenty of stuff to do. And I have to get it done because I have deadlines. So it's not like I can just say, hey, I'm taking off because my parents are here. You can't do it. And you're going to get calls. And I got many calls today that interrupted me. And I'm like, I have to take this call. I'm sorry. So that's what I think people don't understand. Yeah, we do a lot of stuff, but we're valuable people in the fact that we are on your side all the time. No matter what's going on, there are conversations that we have to have now. And, when people get home from work, they can just sit back and watch TV and not worry about somebody calling them. But when we get home from work, we have people calling us all night and it never ends. And guess what? When is our home inspection contingency up? 9 p.m. So at 9 p.m., you better have that contingency in by that 9 p.m. hour or else you're done. So these are the things. This is why, maybe we're complaining a little bit. Maybe we're trying to show our worth though. And I think that's what people don't understand. What are your thoughts on it?
My initial thought was kind of what Matt was saying. Like, it sounds a little complainy because I think at the end of the day, most people realize that we do a lot of work. They just want to complain about it on the internet because they got nothing better to do. And they usually see the number on the Alta or like the closing disclosure of like what you make, not really considering that like you're not going to get nearly that number.
Yeah.
Uncle Sam hasn't even showed up yet and you're not getting that number. And I think there is something to be said about educating the public on that so there isn't so much friction and battle between the client and the agent. I'm under the mindset right now, though, of let people complain online because I think when push comes to shove, a consumer is going to use a real estate agent. Whether they believe we're overpaid or not, they're going to call you because they need you.
They have to. And that's, we've talked about that over the last couple of weeks. If you try to purchase or sell on your own, you'll learn pretty quickly how much work is involved and how much you don't know about real estate when you're going through that process.
Well, I hope that neither of you post an 8-page diatribe about your worth. Some of these things, discuss foreclosures and short sales, explain school districts' effect on home values, explain recording devices during showings. I mean, these things are so
mundane.
Yeah, we're splitting hairs here.
How about brush your teeth?
Yeah,
Wait,
I have to brush
tie
my
your
teeth
shoes.
before. I have to put on a tie.
So what I think real estate agents are, maybe I'm just inundated with having all of my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everyone just being a real estate agent. I think real estate agents are the biggest complainers on the internet.
Yeah.
That's what I think. What is the public persona when someone posts 8 pages of explaining their worth? Shawn, in negotiations, if someone says, why are you worth this much? And you explain, you've already lost the negotiation. If someone is saying, hey, will you cut your commission? I saw someone else do it for this. What makes you so different? If you have to explain, I have a 4-page marketing brochure, I have a YouTube channel, I have a Facebook page, you've already lost. Explainers lose.
I mean, I guess you're right in that. I mean, I didn't read the list, but you don't have to go to that level of stuff. There are plenty that we do, and I think the main things are the experience, the negotiations, the level of detail that we need to be on all the time. That makes a good agent, and not necessarily explaining what lead-based paint is and all that other stuff. I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but we have to have the knowledge of it. Anybody can make an 8-page thing of what they do. I mean, honestly, you brought up teachers. I think teachers, like, I would never want to do that job for that pay. They are always on. They got to be there early. They got to work afterwards. They got to grade papers. I don't want to be doing that. So I feel for you, teachers. But there's a lot of there's a lot of jobs out there that do a lot of different things, and we don't need to go into what they do. I think our services are here. We don't do it for free. We make a good living, but we work our butts off to do it. And that's the key. I don't think we need to explain every detail.
Well, I don't think you've posted it, or you, Drew, because you're too busy selling houses. And I think the people that aren't selling houses are complaining on the internet. Best place to complain about that. So there was another lawsuit that came out recently. Not sure if you all saw this, but
I mean, how many are there? I can't keep track, to be honest. I don't know.
In Texas, there's a new lawsuit that targets the Texas Realtor Association, as well as 20 brokerages and teams. So, Shawn, I made a remark a couple episodes ago that said, hey, they're only going after Keller Williams, the Anywhere who settled. They're only going after Coldwell Banker. They're only going after the people that have the money. Well, guess what? Now they're going after everyone. The ambulance chasers are out in full force. You want to talk about copycat lawsuits? I mean, there's a million of them going on. So they are seeking class action certification. This comes to us from nowbam.com on behalf of all home sellers in Texas between 2021 and 2023. You know, it's one thing if Anywhere Real Estate settles and pays a bunch of money, or Remax or any of these brokerages can maybe handle the amount of money that they have to pay out. But we may come to find that these smaller brokerages I'm just speculating, may be liable, may just close up shop, and then all these agents are going to have to shuffle around. Shawn, what are your thoughts on now not only the Texas Association of Realtors, but 20 different teams, including the Mark Anthony Dimas individual broker, Hexagon Group, the Michael Group, and the Ebby Halliday Real Estate? I
mean, this is scary stuff. I mean, this is getting into how we make a living. We have signed contracts. It's one thing if you're being devious in how you're doing business and how you're saying things and taking advantage of people. I can understand that. But I can tell you everybody in this room has been, by the way things need to go, that's how we do it, right? We're always going to be error on the side of caution, and we're not going to be inflating what we do or what our business is or what we should get paid or blah, blah, blah. Or hiding the services or saying that our services are free. I've never done that, right? So, but it's a scary thing to start. When you start going, what level where are you going to stop? You're going to go after every single real estate agent and say, you overcharged for your services. Now I'm coming after you. I want your money. All that money that you saved last year, it's mine now. It's insanity, I think, at this point. But we'll see. When we saw this first lawsuit, I was like, all right, this isn't going to go. This is crazy. But crazy happened. And now we're just going to see more and more lawsuits. And, I don't know these teams. I don't know what their practices were. Maybe they were doing something that, like we've seen some agencies, we've talked about stories on here where we're like, how is this even happening? Like, how is this lawful? How are they not sued?
In Texas, in like Illinois, and some of these other states, there are crazy practices. Like I saw one where it's like they only do 6%. They like openly advertise they only do 6%, and then from that they keep like 4.5 or something like that, and then they only pay out like whatever 6 minus 4.5 is. But I don't know what these practices are, but there are some wild realtors, real estate agents out there who could care less about the code of ethics. Drew, what are you thinking about this Texas lawsuit?
This is honestly the first time I'm hearing about this new one that you're bringing up.
I don't blame you. There's so many.
There's too many. It will become congested and overrun with people trying to sue real estate agents, where I think they will lose some of the shine a little bit when there's just so many of them. It's getting ridiculous. Like some adult is finally going to stand up and say, this is ridiculous. Enough.
Yeah.
Right.
That's enough.
I don't know how many people are going to get sued in the meantime, but until someone way higher up than us says enough is enough, you sign the paperwork. Also, listing agreements are not hard to read. This is not like, I don't know how it works in each state. Ours are like 12 pages. They're like fill in the blank. It is so obvious how to set up, what you're paying. I don't know how someone could say that they overpaid when they agreed to pay it. Yeah, that's just me.
And I agree 100%. You're signing a document. It's a boilerplate thing. We go through these documents with the buyer
before the house is even on the market,
right?
You don't figure out the commission afterwards. You agree to it before you even do anything with a real estate agent.
That's right. And so the funny thing is, we have had buyer broker agreements in place for a long time now. I can remember when we didn't have them, and maybe you probably started when we didn't really have them, or you weren't signing them every time you were showing a property, or in your instance, you get these Zillow leads and you got to go. How do you get those signed every time? That's the difficult thing, right? So, but now we just got an email. No, actually, I was watching. My buddy Keith came up on Instagram, and he was showing the new form for the buyer broker agreement, and in that, there's now a disclosure underneath it, and this will come out in January, that says you do not have to pay out 2.5% in the listing agreement. You do not have to pay out 2.5% anymore. It can be whatever you want to the buyer side, right?
When does NVAR get sued? When does Real Broker get sued? Because we're showing these buyer broker agreements, the ones that are updated every July 1st. So the one we showed, last episode, that's been what we've been using for 5 months, but the one we've been using in 2015 is different from the one we've been using now.
And that's the thing, is like you can go back to every form. And I think that, I always say painting with a broad brush. That's what they're doing here. It's like we have so many buyers and sellers that have gone under contract, in my career, like I was saying, 600 to 700 different transactions that I've done. And I've had no complaints. I've had no one like, oh my gosh, you made how much? Like they've never said that to me, Sometimes they'll joke and be like, hey, it's a good payday, whatever. But like, they understand it. They know where that money's coming from. So to act like everybody has been in the dark for all this time and you've been tricked into, hey, you paid too much.
Yeah, we've all got secret meetings.
Yeah, we have secret meetings, and like
make
it's
sure
a
we keep the
secret
commission
society.
up.
It's the Association of Realtors. It's not like these people are conspiring to keep your money. And it's just like any sales job. Like in sales, they teach you, hey, charge your worth, right? What are you worth? That's what you should charge. So it's a tough thing. I think that the going after teams and after, hopefully not, but individual real estate agents, that's going to be a tough one, and I hope it doesn't go that route. And I hope, there are going to be appeals to these cases. They're not going to be settled right away. It's going to take years for that big case to actually come to fruition. And where, there could be appeals. I saw something the other day where now we're going to countersue for defamation of realtors, things like that. So you never know what's going to happen. The lawyers are hungry. They see the cash, right?
They do.
They see the cash, and they're going to keep going until there's no cash left. And that's the way it's going to be.
Let us know what you think in the comments section below. And quite honestly, what I think is I'm exhausted from all the lawsuits. I'm too busy trying to help my clients buy and sell real estate. Whatever happens in the courtroom is gonna happen between the lawyers and the attorneys. And I don't want to keep making videos about lawsuits.
And that's
right?
all we've been talking about recently. But the thing you got to focus on is it's exactly, you shouldn't be focusing on, as a real estate agent, you shouldn't be worried about the lawsuits. You should be worried about your next transaction and making sure that you're staying busy. And how are you going to get the next transaction? It's not worrying about this stuff. That stuff is going to take years, in my opinion. We're going to see small transitional changes, and it'll probably be for the better, to be honest. More transparency is always good. I'd rather be way more transparent than hiding things. I want to be able to sleep at night when I'm doing transactions. And that's how I've done most of my career. So,
Drew, we do a segment on the podcast called In or Out.
Okay.
Whether you are in or out on a property in the United States. So if you look up on the big screen, we're going to the Hamptons. Drew,
Lovely.
you ever been to the Hamptons?
I actually haven't, believe it or not.
I have not either.
We grew up going to Cape Cod. We were Cape Cod people.
You seem like a Hamptons kind of guy, but he's more of a Cape Cod kind of guy. I feel like there's some
I could tell by the
similarities
watch.
there.
The watch, I was
the
like,
timepiece.
They're siblings,
So we have a buy one, get one free. It's Realtor.com, so the photos are a little pixelated, so bear with me here. So buy one, get one free. 4.59 listing will make your Hamptons-Compound dream come true. So there's actually 2 houses. You can buy them individually, or you buy one, get the second free for 4.59. 2.9 acre lot. Let's see, 4 bedrooms, 2,300 square feet. So essentially 2 smaller houses on 2.9 acres in the Hamptons. I did check. You are about 1 mile away from 3 different golf courses. And this is the buyer's choice to turn these special homes into the ultimate Hamptons compound in the woods. So, Drew, are you in or out on the 2 homes for $4.59 million in the Hamptons?
I love the lot size, and I actually appreciate the design and the look of that house. And my dream and my goal in this world is to have an ADU for my office. I really just want a detached garage, my own space, kind of like the studio here, get the guitars out there, I need my own space. So that is appealing in that way. However, I'm going to say no. I'm out on this one.
What about it? Let's hear it.
If you're going to the Hamptons, why are you going to the Hamptons?
Probably be on the water.
Bingo. This looks like a fantastic primary home in the woods with privacy and a lot of land to run on. But if I'm going to the Hamptons and you're going to truck out Long Island to get there, I need to see the ocean.
Shawn.
I'm with my man Drew here. I've never been to the Hamptons. I don't know prices in the Hamptons. I know it's expensive. I love the mid-century modern kind of style, glass walls, very cool. But the problem is you're in the middle of the woods. I lived in the middle of the woods kind of in Lake Barcroft. I had so many trees. I had a mid-century modern with tons of trees. I need sunlight as a human being. I'm a sunlight freak. I want that sunlight to make me feel good. And if I'm going to the beach, I'm going to the beach. I'm not going to the woods at the beach or near the beach. The lot size is nice. I get it. That's where all the value is. But man, if I'm spending $5 million on something, I'm going to be on the water and I'm going to be looking at that in the sunshine. So I'm out.
So I don't know if you've looked at Hamptons beachside properties recently, but
yeah, I'm sure they're a lot
the same budget.
I'm just going somewhere else.
That's not the point of this ad.
So when I was looking at this and I saw the exterior, I was like, is this just a trailer in the woods?
That
was
the second one I thought.
The first thing that came to mind. Then I thought the Hamptons, and then I thought 3 acres, and then I thought 2 houses. And you know what, fellas? I'm in. I'm going to zig where you guys are zagging. I'm in because I'm going to do something with that second house. Maybe I rent it out. Maybe I hold on to it. But eventually what's going to happen is I'm going to sell this property, probably for the land. And then I can upgrade to the big boy water mansion. But if you're going to tell me that there's a livable modern, updated, renovated Hamptons house. It's 2 houses. I mean, sure, it's one bedroom maybe in one of them and maybe 2 bedrooms in the other. I'm in. I don't care what the price tag is. Hamptons real estate, I'm in.
Okay,
that's where I'm at.
That's good. Do you know if it's subdividable? I mean, that would be something, right? I mean, you could subdivide this, build a couple houses, and then you're going to
If
the
I
big
said
dogs.
yes, would you be in?
That would be a little. Yeah, that'll be a little easier.
You might be able to take enough trees down to see the ocean.
Yeah, exactly. There's not enough trees for Shawn to take down. Man does not like trees. All right, well, let us know if you're in or out in the comment section below. And for Shawn, Drew, and myself, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.